Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. My name is Sam, and in this video we are going to be doing a reverse plan with me homeschool edition. So if you're interested in what reverse planning means, if you'd like to see how I use my planner, and of course see what we did in our homeschool this week, then you're gonna get all of that in this video. So if you like planning videos, homeschool videos, this is the one for you. Let's get started. Alright friends, let's get right into it. Before I start though, I do want to mention that this is an Erin Condren teacher planner that I'm using. I mean, you can use any planner, certainly. This is what I have been using. I use the Erin Condren Life Planner, and I have for over 10 years, so I'm very just familiar with their products. They do have a homeschool planner, and it's still kind of new, and I'm waiting to see if they revamp it again for this year. And so we'll see in May if I decide to switch it up next year. But I very much like this teacher planner for homeschool. I change very little just at the beginning of the planner, but the week-to-week stuff is just fine for me. So let's get started. So this is this week of homeschool that we are in, and now I do what is called reverse planning or backwards planning or simply record keeping. So at the end of the day, I write what we have done for the day. And I do plan ahead, but I don't actually write anything down because I have found that when I do that, things change. We wake up and we don't want to do something, or I don't have the energy to do something, or we didn't get to everything the previous day, or, you know, we need to do extra time on this, whatever. And so I've just found that actually just going day by day, write down what we did. When I'm setting up for school the next day in the evening, I do it the evening prior. I kind of look through everything, I get everything set up, and even then we can be in the middle of school and we may decide not to do something or to skip something, so it just lends itself to not planning ahead and then having to cross things out. And I'm still planning, I keep track, I have stickies, these cute little apple stickies throughout the planner as like benchmarks to make sure that I'm reaching certain goals at certain times of the year, and this works just very well for me. So let me just walk you through how I set this up, what a week in our school looks like, and just show you what we do. So usually the week prior, on Friday or even Monday when we're actually homeschooling, I will go ahead and set up all my headers. And it looks the same every single week. Sometimes I will just go ahead and do an entire month at a time. So this is what this looks like for me. It's very hard to write and talk, I am finding. All right, so this is what my headers look like. We have my first graders stuff, my preschooler, geography, science, and our anything faith-based over here. You could kind of continue this over if you need that last subject, but I don't really organize it like that. It's kind of, this is what we did for the week, and I break it up in sections, as you'll see. And this has actually changed throughout this year as we've done different things. We always, whatever the week is, so we're in the 6th week of ordinary time, I'll write that here for our reading that we did. I'll have a saints section, any saints that we read about for the week. Sometimes there's 3 or 4, sometimes there's only 1. When we were doing our little Bible stories, you know, I would write down the ones that we read, our catechism, the subjects that we were covering, or whatever it was that we were covering in that reading. And so this has kind of changed. Things that we were memorizing, prayers that we were memorizing, kind of all went in here. So it's not necessarily like on Monday we did whatever I wrote here, Tuesday. It's kind of just how it ends up looking for the week and what we covered the entire week. So that's just the only section that's different. I did this a little differently last year as well, and I already know that next year things will look different as I will have a kindergartner next year, so I'll be sharing this section and changing up what I do on the group side of things. So this is how we start our week. And I actually had to write everything down in my notebook, but I usually do this at the end of the day. When we're done homeschooling for the day, I write down what we did. So on Monday, President's Day, we didn't do anything for President's Day, and my husband still had work, so we just homeschooled as per usual. Okay, we did a math lesson, and my first grader did just booster cards. I'm going to actually make a whole video on how we do the booster cards and that whole reading booster program, because I don't do it the way that they suggest, 5 to 10 minutes every single time you do a language arts lesson. We just don't do that. My preschooler, she is still working hard, so I just write course book for her preschool lesson book that she's doing from the Good and the Beautiful, and then we did a lesson 60, and then she did a handwriting, pages 8 and 9. We didn't do any geography or science on Monday. As I said, this was the 6th week in ordinary time, so I have a little reading that we do for that, but I actually didn't do it on Monday, but this is just how I organized this section, like I said. And then we didn't do any Saints readings on this day, but that's where I always put it. And then I'm just going to put down here, we have been diligently working on our mass unit so we can finish it before Lent, and I am pleased to inform you that we will be finishing it before Lent. I'm very excited. And we were on the part about the Eucharistic prayer, and we had to break it up into a bunch of sections over this week. So we did it in a couple of different sections. We broke it up. And what did we do today? Yeah, this one. Consecration. Okay. So this we actually did Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we broke it up. It's a lot, you know. The Eucharistic prayer is a lot. So we've been breaking it up. We still have more to go, which we will finish out next week. So this is what we did on Monday. We did just the beginning of the Eucharistic prayer and then these things. And that is it. We didn't do any geography or science. That's just how it worked out. Okay, so I'm going to fill out the rest of the week, and then we will talk about what we did, how I go about planning the next day, all that stuff. So let's just do a little time lapse here, because it is very hard to write and talk at the same time. So this is what we ended up doing for our homeschool this week. So at the end of the day, now again, I wrote everything in a notebook so I could do this all at once just for this video, but I do in fact write what we did on Monday at the end of Monday school. Tuesday, I did it on Tuesday. I usually do it on Tuesday, same thing. So each day I usually am writing what we did. And then the night before school, I figure out what we did for the day. I do try to alternate when we do geography and science. at the beginning of the year, this was much more filled in, but I am really concentrating on this math unit right now, so we have not been doing as much as we had been for geography and science, but in a week and a half, we will be done with this, and this will really just increase. Usually we do 2 science lessons a week and then 3 or 4 days of geography. So on Monday, as you can see, we did math, we did booster cards, we did handwriting, the lesson, and some handwriting for my preschooler. We did another math lesson on Tuesday. We did a lesson and booster cards for language arts. This must have been an easier lesson. I always look ahead at, especially for language arts, sometimes it seems like, like if there's something to do with the letter tiles or anything like that, I usually won't do the booster cards. So there's different things that I look for when I'm deciding what we're going to do. But I'm going to make a whole video on how I decide what we're going to do. And I, as always, do leave it up to my kids for a little bit. Usually about once a month, they aren't quite happy with what I had laid out for school. And they will tell me, look, I really don't want to do that. And since they very rarely ask me, I usually listen to them and say, okay, cool, we won't do that today. But for the most part, they're pretty cool with what I lay out. On Wednesday, we just did math and language arts. My preschooler did some handwriting. She can do this stuff independently. And then these practice sheets that you see are not just the practice sheets for the course book, but it also refers to the extra sheets that we've been doing from Confessions of a Homeschooler. We've been doing the Letter of the Week curriculum. So that's what that refers to. I'll pick a few of those out and anything else. And she kind of picks what she wants to do. So I lay a bunch of things out for her, more than what we're going to do, and I let her pick. Sometimes I have to nudge her a little bit on a couple of things, but usually she's very good about picking a few things, and then we do that. We were able to do a science lesson on this day. We covered floods. And then on Thursday, we did math, language arts, no handwriting for these last few days. I usually do 2 pages a week. He likes to get them done at the beginning of the week, and then he's good to go. And then we did another lesson with my preschooler, some more practice sheets. We covered Arctic fox with our geography unit. There are 6 animals per continent, so we're in Europe right now. As you can see, we did some flags. There's 3 flags per page, so it's basically a page every time we get to geography, and we kind of try to alternate. There's quite a few countries in Europe, so we're having to do like 2 or 3 pages of flags and then do an animal. That's kind of how that's working out. Some of the other continents we've been able to just go back and forth, but Europe has a lot of flags. There's a lot of countries we got to cover. And then on Friday, today, we did just a language arts lesson. He mastered a bunch of booster cards, so that's really all we had to do. We are so ahead on math that I, gave him an easy day. And then we did pretty much the same as we usually do. Some handwriting, we did a lesson, and some more practice sheets for my preschooler. So that's what a typical week looks like with us, especially with the individual stuff. That's pretty much how it goes. We are pushing pretty hard on language arts right now because I had wanted to have Unit 2 done by the end of February. We are, I think, just going to make it. Maybe not. We're going to be really close. 80 lessons is it's 40 for each unit. So we're going to be close by the end of February, but it's okay. So we're pushing pretty hard on language arts. Otherwise, we might have only done 3 or 4 days of language arts. And with the booster cards, so I'm trying to push the lessons, and that's kind of what that's looking like. So yeah, that is what a week in our homeschool looks like. And then we're good to go for next week. And I will kind of look at what we did. I'll kind of have a little conference with myself either Friday after school or like Sunday when I'm setting up for Monday. I will kind of look at what we did the past week. If there's anything we really need to continue doing, make sure we have the pedal down for. And it's going to be the same for next week. I really am pushing our math unit to get that done, and our language arts for my first grader. Those will be the two things that we really make sure we do, and everything else is kind of, we're good to go if we don't do as many of them. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. I like seeing how people do their homeschool weeks, how they do their planning, what you actually do in a day. Sometimes it seems like you don't do enough, or I'm doing too much, and this is what it looks like. So maybe I'll do this sort of in like a shorts content, being able to show you what we did in a week, just so you can see. So I'm toying with that idea. So if you like that idea, you can leave me a comment down below. And if you have any questions about how I plan or lack thereof planning, you can leave a comment or a question down below as well. So I hope you guys are doing well. It is almost March. I can feel it. We have had some really weird weather here. And anyway, I will see you guys all in my next video real soon. Bye.